Working on some propagation today. I had to take a look at this Roselle hibiscus. Really pretty flowers, edible. You could put them in a tea. I like to sometimes just yum. I'll show y'all some of this propagation over here. Look at all the new growth. All this is new growth. Knopf hibiscus. These are really yummy as well. Alright. Look at all the mulberries. There's some more hibiscus in here. The prickly pears. Got more mulberries in here. Doing great. More mulberries. Look at these. Whoa. Hadn't looked at this in a few days. Look at all this new growth. So this is another really easy one to do. This is elderberry. Grows very easily from cutting. Another great one to do from cutting. Look at these figs. All this is new growth. So it's a couple weeks. So this is what you want to use for your propagation. Perlite, coconut coir mixed together. Got some leaves in here, but get those out of there. You're going to want to wet this real good before you use it, but about 70% cocoa coir, 30% perlite. This might be a tiny bit heavy on the perlite, but I believe the lower section of this is more coconut coir. It needs to be mixed a little better to get the right ratio here. You can see this stuff just falls apart, doesn't compact. Why it works so good is it's inert. It doesn't have the live microbes, live nutrients and things in it, and you get all your nutrients from the actual cutting. It comes right out of that for it to root, and then you're going to need to be transferred. You'll see if you don't transfer it, the leaves, it won't thrive. They'll start like turning yellow and brown after a while, after you get that fresh new growth. So then you really need to move it into something more substantial, something better. But this works great to get that first start of rooting. Really gets the air down in there, lets it breathe. Then afterwards you get it into a good potting mix. So I make my own potting mix. I use peat moss, use perlite, so about a third peat moss, a third compost. I got compost right here. I've got compost in bulk. There's the peat moss. Just get a really good mixture in here. You want to see down here it's a little bit more wet. I need to wet this top section. You don't want your potting soil to dry out. It's nice and moist right here, but this top section I let dry out a little bit. I'm gonna hit with the water every day. Every time I water, I always hit my compost pile, and then if I have any potting mix already made, to try to keep it moist, because if you don't keep it moist, that beneficial bacteria, the microbes, all that good stuff, it'll go away. It'll die if you don't keep it moist, if it dries out too much. So here's an example. Perlite, and then we'll also put in there azomite and the peat moss. So 1/3 peat moss, 1/3 compost, about 20% perlite. If you have it, really one of the best amendments you can do is 10% biochar. So right here, look at this. Charged biochar. This had the compost on top, and right now, so it was already charged up. You don't want to put raw biochar on there because it'll suck the nutrients out of your soil and hurt the plants. It will be a detriment instead of a benefit. So you get that with your pile on top, and you keep it moist for even 1-2 weeks. It should be long enough to charge it up. The longer you wait, even the better. But like 10% biochar, see, it's a permanent amendment, permanent addition of organic matter. And this is how good this stuff is. Just falls apart Got a lot of good nutrients in it. This was horse manure and like bedding. We got this from a stable. Just a bunch of different things mixed in with it. But it really makes great soil, great around the fruit trees. If you don't have the biochar, just up your peat moss and you compost a little bit.